Hi, welcome into today's CAD lesson. In today's exercise, we would model a disc plate coupling. This assembly consists of 7 parts. 5 of them we would model, and they are the spacer, the hub, the plate, the bush, and the washer. The other 2 parts we would get them from the content library, which are the bolts and the nuts. At the end, we would assemble and also animate just like you saw in the beginning of this video. If you would have any comments, questions, or concerns, kindly leave them down in the comment section below. I would respond to them as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and begin with today's exercise. I have Autodesk Inventor open. This is the home interface. To begin, let's get a worksheet. To do that, Ctrl plus N or New up here. This is going to be a part, and so under Part, create 2D and 3D objects. We select the standard millimeter IPT template because we are going to be working in millimeters, and we would click on Create. The first part is going to be the spacer. We begin with a 2D sketch, and so we pick that command up here and create this sketch on the XY plane. Now we would pick the circle command. Let's bring that to the origin and draw our first circle of diameter 36 and enter that. We'd also draw a much bigger one from that same point, also of diameter 45, and enter. Now we can finish this. Double click the scroll mouse button to get your work in good focus. We want to extrude, the extrude command. Let's select the profile we want to extrude as this one. The form has been correctly selected. The behavior direction is what we want to change to symmetric, and specify the distance of extrusion as 80, and the preview is fine, so we can OK. Next, let's select this face and create a sketch on that face. First of all, let's pick the project geometry command and project this circle because we want to maintain this hole in this next extrusion. Now we pick the circle command. Let's bring that to the origin and draw a circle of diameter 79.2. We would enter that. Let's draw another circle also of diameter 96 and enter that. You can right click and then OK. Let's pick the circle and make that constructional. Next, we want to pick the circle command again. Let's draw another circle from this point of diameter 7.8 and enter, but pick the vertical constraint command and say that place the midpoint of this circle vertically in line with the origin. You can right click and then OK. For this circle, we want to create multiples of it around this pitch circle. We would use the circular pattern command for that. So let's pick that here under the pattern group. The geometry we want to create the multiples of is going to be this circle. The axis it should go around. We can use any circular axis actually, but let me pick this one. Let's now change the count to 3, and that should be divided around a 360-degree angle. The preview is fine, and so we can OK. Next, let's pick the line command. Let's draw a line from this point to the origin, then also from the origin slanted towards the bigger circle. Right click and then OK. For these two lines, let me select the first one, hold down Control, select the second, and make that constructional. Let's now dimension the angle between the two as 60. And then we would pick the arc command. Let's draw an arc here. So pick the first point on the bigger circle, the second point also on the bigger circle, and give that any radius we would dimension. Right click and then OK. Now let's pick the coincident constraint command and place the midpoint of that arc with this bigger circle, and then also apply that same constraint between this point and the point right here. Now we would give the dimension of this arc as 18, which will be the radius. That sketch is fully constrained. We want to circular pattern this as well. Circular pattern command, the geometry is that arc, and let's pick an axis. It should go around. This one is fine, but change the count to 3 around a 360-degree angle, we can OK. Let's finish this sketch. Double click the scroll mouse button. Next, we want to extrude. The extrude command, the profile we want to extrude is this one. The distance of extrusion is what we will change here to 12. The preview is fine, and so we can OK. Now let's apply some fillets. The fillet command, the fillet radius is going to be 2.5. You can type that in here. Let's pick the edges we want to put those fillets. This edge, also that one. This edge, let's pick also this edge from here. And let me just turn it around so I get a good selection. Also that. And then this very one, let's OK. Now we want to create this same feature on this side. For that, we can use the mirror command. So let's pick the mirror command up here. The feature we want to mirror, we can pick the extrusion tool, hold down control, pick the fillet as well. And let's select the mirror plane as the XY plane. The preview is fine, and so we can OK. Now this sketch is ready. Let's just change the appearance. So we will drop down the default options here, and let's type H to move to the H column. The first H word is horned. I would select that and save this. So save up here. I have prepared a folder. Let me save this as the part number 1 spacer. I have one spacer in there already, but I would replace that. So it says, do you want to replace? I would say yes. Now we move on to the second part. For the second part, let's also get a new worksheet. And so new up here, and the part create 2D and 3D object standard millimeter IPT, and we would create. Now we would create a 2D sketch, and so we select that option up here on the XY plane. Now let's pick the circle command. We will draw a number of circles here. And so the first one is going to be of diameter 30. Let's enter that. We would also draw another one from that same point of diameter 48. Let's enter that. Double click the scroll mouse button to get your work in focus. From that same point, we will draw another one of diameter 79.2, and then the final one of diameter 96. Let's enter. They should all start from the origin. You can right click and then OK to get off the line command. Let me double click the scroll mouse button. Now let's select this circle and make it constructional. We are going to pick the circle command again from this point, just like we did for the spacer. Let's draw a circle of diameter 7.8 and enter. Apply the vertical constraint command between the midpoint of that circle and the origin. Right click and then OK. Now we would circular pattern the circle we just drew. That is the geometry. The axis it should go around. You can choose any circular axis. The count is supposed to be 3 around a 360-degree angle. The preview is fine until we can OK. Next, we would pick the line command. Let's draw a line from this point to the origin and then slant it towards the bigger circle. Right click and OK. We will select these two lines just like we did for the spacer and make them constructional and dimension the angle between the two lines as 60. Then we would pick the arc command. Let's pick our first point on the bigger circle, the second point also on that same circle. We would give that any radius. You can right click and OK. We would apply the coincidence relationship. Let me cancel this. The coincidence relationship between the point here and the circle. And then we would also do same between the point and this point right here where this constructional line meets the circle. And we would dimension and give this a radius of 18 and enter. We would also circular pattern that. So the circular pattern command, the geometry is the arc and the axis it should go around. We can use any circular axis. The count is supposed to be 3 around a 360-degree angle, we can OK. Our sketch is fully constrained. It says that down here. We can finish this sketch. Double click the scroll mouse button. Let's now extrude. The extrude command. I first of all want to extrude this particular profile to a distance of 12. The direction should be the default direction, which is OK. And then I'll click on the plus sign so I can extrude this profile also. But this time the distance of extrusion is going to be 42. The preview is fine, and so we can OK. Now let's select this face and create a sketch, which is going to be a little slot here for the key. Now we would pick the rectangle command. Let me zoom in and draw a rectangle here. Right click and you can OK. Now let me project this very circle here and then pick the trim command. Let me take off these parts of the rectangle I just drew, and then I would apply the vertical constraint between the midpoint of that horizontal line and the origin. And then we can now dimension, and so the width of this is 9, the height of it is 3. That sketch is fully constrained. Now I can finish it and I would extrude that. Extrude command. The profile is going to be this one, but I want to change the direction to the flipped, which is the second one. That automatically changes the boolean to a cut, and I want that cut to go through all. You can specify it with a distance, but I would also specify it with one of these options, which is the through all. And now I can OK. Let's now put our fillet command. The fillet radius is 2.5. Let's select the edges, and that is the wrong edge, so let me close this and begin to pick the edges again. Let me turn around this time, pick this edge, that's one, this and that. Let me turn this around, pick this edge, and then this very one. We can OK. Let me get the isometric view. This part is also ready. Let's change the appearance to the horn and save this. And so save. This is going to be the part number 2 hub. Let's now save. Now we move on to the third part, which is going to be the plate. Let's get a worksheet new, standard millimeter IPT template. Let's create. Now we pick the 2D sketch command and create the sketch also on the XY plane. Let's drop down the rectangle options and pick polygon. Our polygon is supposed to be inscribed, which is the first option, and it should have 6 sides. Now let's draw that from the origin. Make sure you orient it this way. You can right click and OK. Now let's select one of these horizontal lines and make it horizontal if it isn't anyway. Now you can right click and then OK. We would dimension the distance between this point and this very one as 96. Double click the scroll mouse button. Now let's pick the circle command and draw a number of circles. The first one is going to be of diameter 54. Let's enter that. Would also draw another one of diameter 79.2. Let's enter that. You can right click and then OK. We would select this circle and make it constructional. Now let's pick the line command. Let's draw a line from the origin all the way to this point here. Right click and OK. Now we will select the line and make it constructional. Great. Next we want to pick the circle command again. This very point here where this slanted line and the circle meet, once you are locked onto that point, those two geometries should be blue. That is if you are using the light interface. So I'll click and draw a circle of diameter 7.8 and enter. That should be fully constrained. Right click and now OK. Next, we want to circular pattern. The circle we just drew, which will be the geometry, the axis it should go around. We can pick this circle. We want the counts to be 6 divided around a 360-degree angle. The preview is fine, and so we can OK. Now the sketch is done. Let's finish it. Double click the scroll mouse button. Let's extrude. The profile we want to extrude is going to be this one. Let me change the direction to symmetric and change the distance of the extrusion to 6, and we can OK. This part is ready, a very simple part. Let's now go ahead and change the appearance. So I'll drop down the appearance options and look for M. You can just type M and get to the metal 2400 F-hot. I'll select that. This is fine. Now let's save this as part number 3. Please. We are on to the fourth part. Let's get a worksheet, new standard millimeter IPT we will create. Now we pick the 2D sketch command and work on the XY plane. Let's pick the circle command. We will draw our first circle of diameter 7.8. Let's draw another one of diameter 9.6, and then a final one of 14.4. Let's enter. Now we can finish this and extrude. Extrude command, we would extrude this profile to a distance of 4.2 and click on the plus sign so we can also extrude this very profile, this time to a distance of 14.4. Let me OK. This is a very simple part. That is it. So we go ahead and change the appearance to the metal 2400 F hot and save this as the part number 4 bush. And now the last part, which is also a very simple part. Let's get our worksheet. Now we pick the 2D sketch command, work on the XY plane. Let's pick the circle command. We will draw a circle of diameter 16.14. Let's enter that and draw another one of diameter 9.6 and enter. We would finish this and extrude. Let's extrude that profile to a distance of 4.2 and OK. I will change the appearance also to the metal 2400 F hot and save this as the part number 5, the washer. Now we have all our 5 parts for this assembly. Let me go back and take you through them. So you should have the spacer, the hub, the plate, the bush, and the washer. We would need 2 additional parts, which is going to be the bolt and the nut, but we'll get that from the content library. For now, let's begin to assemble what we have. So let's go into new, under assembly, assemble 2D and 3D components. We pick the standard millimeter IAM template because we want to still work in millimeters for this assembly, and we will create. Now, before we go on and do anything, let me change the view and the visual style to shaded with edges. And now we can bring in our first part. Let me go back to the assembly tab and click on place. Now just locate the folder where you have your parts saved. The first part I want to bring in is going to be the spacer, so I'll check that. Let me click on open and click to place it in here. You can right click and then OK. Now there are so many degrees of freedom here. We want to constrain it a little bit. Let's see what we can do. Pick the constraints command. Let's open down the planes of the main assembly and the planes of the spacer. We want to constrain the XY plane of the main assembly with the XY plane of the spacer. Let me apply that. And then also we want to constrain the z-axis of the spacer and the z-axis of the assembly. Let's apply and close. Now let's see what that does. This is the only degree of freedom we want. It should just rotate. So first we constrained the planes so we get it stuck here, and then we also constrain the axis so they all rotate together. Right, now let's bring in another part, place again. We can bring in, let's see, the plate. Let me open that. Just click and drag a little bit so you can set that here. Right click in OK. We want to constrain this as well. It is moving anyhow. We want it to rotate same as the spacer is. So we pick the constrain command. First of all, we will constrain concentrically this axis of the plate, and then this axis of the spacer. Let's apply and close this. Let me take this out. We want to also constrain these holes, the mounting holes on both of them. So constrain again concentrically this hole and then that hole. Now let's apply and close this. Let's see what that does. Now those two are moving together, which is exactly what we want. We can bring in another part, place, which is now going to be the hub. Let's open. I would also drop that right here. Let's right click and then OK. We also want that to move same as these two are. So let's apply same constraints as we did for this one, which is the plate. The constraint command concentrically, this axis, and also the spacer. Let me apply and close this. Let me drag this out. And now let me constrain the holes. But see, we want this hole in here to lie here. So let me turn it around so we get it in that orientation. And then I would constrain this hole with this very one of the plates and apply. Now let me close this. Let's see. They should all rotate together. Awesome. Let me get the front view. Let's see. This is exactly what I was talking about. And so the curve here or the arc here should fall right in here. Great. Let me get the isometric view. Next, we want to bring in those two little parts. So let me place. First of all, let's bring in the bush. Let me open that. Let me drop one here and also one there. Right click and OK. Now we would constrain. So the constraint command, this time we will choose the type as insert. And what we want to say is that place this very circle here. Okay, let's see where we can place it. So turn it, place it on this very circle. So we have that inserted. Let's apply. Let me get the isometric view. And we would also do same for this and that. Let's select this circle and insert that here. Let's apply and we can close this. All right, so let me even turn it around and see. Great. Now we can bring in the washer, and so please let's look for that part number 5. Let me open. I need 2 of that as well, so I would place one here and there. Right click and then OK. I would constrain. Also the type is insert. Let me insert this hole, turn this around right here. Let me get the right selection. So it is. Let's apply and do same for this hole. Let me place that. Let's see, which is this one here. Let's apply and then I can close it. Okay, let's rotate and see. Excellent. Next, let's attach some faces, and so the constraint command, we want to attach this face. Let me turn around to this face. Let's apply, and then also the face of the spacer to this face. Let's apply that. Let me close this and get the isometric view. Now we can bring in the bolt and the nut. So let's drop down the place option. You can select place from content center, and let's look for the type of fastener we want. Just click on the plus sign next to the fastener. Click on the plus sign next to the bolt. We want the hex head flange type of bolt. So for that, we'll pick the ISO 416. If you have quite a number of them here, you can just filter, so you pick only the ISO standards. Now we'll pick this one, ISO 4162. Let me open that, and let's locate the hole we want to insert this, which is going to be this hole here. So I'll click on that and I would check. Also, I want to place another one on this hole, and I will check that. Right click and done. Let me get the isometric view. Before we continue, let's even change the length of this bolt. So let's locate it here. Just click, right click, and choose the option that says change size, and we want to change the nominal length to 35 and apply. We will do same for the second one. Before that, close this. Click on the second one, right click, and choose the change size. We would also change the nominal length to 35 and apply. We can see that change here. Let me close this. Great, now we can bring in the nut. So same method, place from content center. This time we open up the nut, pick the hex flange type, select the first option, ISO 4161. Let's OK and drop that right here. Let's check that and place same on the opposite side here, and we will check. All right, now we have our bolt and nut placed. You can right click and done. Let me get the isometric view. Awesome. Now we can pattern these sets along the other circles. Let's even collapse all here under the model browser so we get a clean workspace. Now let's pick the pattern command and select the components we want to pattern. So all the components of the set of screws here is what we want to select. Let's select the washer, hold down control key, the bush one as well. Let's select the bolt and also the nut, which is going to be this one. So we see it's highlighted in blue. That is what we want to select. Now let's create a circular pattern of that. The placement, we'll check that and select any circular axis. Now we see some few placements, but it's not what we want. We want to change the count here to 3, and we want to divide that by 360. So 360 over 3 is what we type in here. Now let's OK. Let me get a good view. We have them placed. So this is what we patterned to get these other two. We can also pattern this set to get 2 more here. Let's do that. The pattern command, let's select those parts. So it's going to be the bush tool. Hold down the control key. Let's see the washer tool, the bolt, and the nut. We have them all selected. Let's create a circular pattern of that. The placement, we can choose any circular axis. We want 3 instances, and they should go around a 360-degree angle. Let's OK. There we have them. All right. At this point, let's apply the animation. So we want to drive and see what we have. Now let's constrain, but the type is going to be angle. The solution is a directed angle, the first option. Now let's open up the planes of the spacer and then that of the assembly. We want to constrain directed angle, the YZ plane of the main assembly, and the YZ plane of the spacer. Let's apply and close. We can find that angle here. So just click on that, right click and drive. The start is 0, the end is 10 degrees. Let's even play this and see. Great, that is the exact motion we want. But we want the end to be 360 degrees. So I'll change that in here. Let's play. That looks fine. Let me close this for now so we can continue. Now, everything we've done here, including the constraints and relationship we've created on this side, we can mirror on the opposite side, the bolt and the nut, everything here we can mirror on the opposite side. For that, we are going to use the mirror command, and so let's select that here under the pattern group. The components are going to be the plate. Hold down Control key, select the hub, the component pattern 1 and the component pattern 2. Make sure you have the mirror relationships checked. Now for the mirror plane, it is going to be the XY plane. Straight away we see a preview here, which is exactly what we want, and so we click on next. Now it is going to create files for the various components and mirrored files of the component we've selected, which is fine, and so let's go OK. There we have it. Now let's drive and see. I suspect this part we mirrored wouldn't move along with this, but let's just drive to confirm that. So we select the angle we placed here, right click. Let's drive. Now let's play. Okay, so that is exactly what I am talking about, because we just mirrored. There's no connection now between the mirrored parts and this spacer. So let's apply those constraints. Let me close this. And let's constrain. First of all, let's apply a concentric relationship between the spacer. Make sure you select that first, and then you select the hub. Let's apply. Now we'll apply a constraint between this washer. Let's look for the washer on the opposite side, which is going to be this one. Let's apply that as well. Let's also attach this face of the washer. Let me turn around with this face of the spacer. Let's apply. Let me get the isometric view. Let's drive to see what we have. So angle, right click. Now let's drive. Let's play. The only problem we are encountering now is that the nut here isn't moving along with the animation. Let's apply another constraint to constrain that. So let's pick concentrically this part. Let's look for the opposite nut, which is going to be this one. We would select this part. Let's apply and close. Now I expect everything to be fine. So angle, right click, drive, let's play. There we have it. Let me drag this up. Let's open up for more options. We want the repetition to be start, end, and start, and we want to do that twice. Let's now reverse and play. Okay, right. So let me even change this from 360 to 180. Let's okay. Now let's do our basic rendering. So view, the visual style is shaded with edges, shadows. Let's apply a reflection. Let's do a ground plane. Let me change the lightning effect to 2 light. And then let me display separate colors. But I don't like the lightning effect, so I'll change it to 1 light. Let me see how that looks. I think I can even do better with Let's see, pool light, not bad, but let's do the default light. Okay, this I think is fine. Let's play one last time. Angle, drive, let's play. That is it for today's tutorial. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, kindly consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet done that. Also do well to like this video. Let's push it out to a lot more people. If you would have any comments, questions or concerns, kindly drop them down in the comment section below. I would respond to them as soon as possible. If you happen to try this, you can also send it to my email. I'll be glad to see them. Don't forget to share this with your CAD friends and save this assembly. I'll see you soon in the next tutorial. Bye.